Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to City Skylines, Mass Transit and JBPG City. And as you can see, I'm just taking a look at our road maintenance overview here. You can see some of those roads are starting to ping green. The reason for that is twofold. One, I have just dropped in a new road transport building just there to send out more trucks to improve the quality of the road. You can see one there, that little purple truck pulling in after its shift and heading back out again. So we're improving the quality of our roads because a lot of them were red and they're now starting to improve. So traffic will move a little bit faster on those roads now that they're getting improved. And the other reason is also I've gone into the budget section and I have amended the budgets and put them both back up to 100% each on day and night. We're making enough money now that we can afford to increase our budgets back up again. We still don't need to raise the taxes above 12%. I was making 15 grand repeatedly earlier, and during the day we're still making around 8 grand. It falls a little bit in the evenings, but we're still making good money. Now the other thing I've done is I've done some stress testing and I've made a few terraforming changes to the city. We're very close, as you can see, to getting 50,000 people in, so the zoning that we've dropped in has really helped bring in some extra people. And Strawberry District over here has got a nice bit of a high density residential here to really give us that numbers boost. We're probably going to need to give it a little bit more of a tweak somewhere else as well. But what I have done is this, and of course as soon as I come to show you something it becomes nighttime again. But basically what I've done is this is exactly the same as before, and what I've done is I've added in a little canal here. Now there's on a slightly raised height, and this is using the narrower canals rather than the wide canals that we've used down the side here. And I've added in this little raised section here. It's like an overflow trough into this pool of water, and from there we have a pipe that runs through quite a deep channel, again a narrow channel rather than a wide channel, which runs all the way along here. A little raised lip, again because this is an overflow rather than a connecting thing. So as if the level gets too high in one, it scoots it down the pipeway into here and unloads into this overflow reservoir just here, and then this connects into the main channel back out to sea. So again, we've got a split level here. You can just see it actually dips down in level at this point from there onwards, and this bit's at a slightly higher level. And again, this is to stop, or to try and stop, when water from coming in through here and coming in and manually filling this up. This is at the level it's at because I've stress tested this with a couple of different tsunamis that were manually triggered just to see if this actually worked, and it does. For the most part, we still get a little bit of spillage, but it's generally pretty good now. I get a little bit of spillage around this area and occasional damage, but the trucks can come out and immediately vacuum up any water that becomes a problem. The search and rescue centre just over there on the hill can come and repair these buildings if they need the repair. And of course we still get a little bit of water that scoots down upriver and spills over the banks a little bit, but it only really affects stuff right on the shoreline. The rest of everything, the rest of the city is pretty much well protected now from tsunamis. So everything seems to be working very well. And you can see as the tide is going out, you can see we're no longer feeding water upriver, up this channel. So you can now see that kind of split level there. As any of the excess water that had gone in, you can now see we've just got a little bit too much in here. It's just starting to make its way down the channel into that little overflow from the overflow reservoir into the drainage pipe. So this is working really nicely. We get a little bit of water that kind of stays in here but doesn't really become a major back and forth flow, and then at the other end this only really starts getting used when we get a huge volume of water up here. So when there's a tsunami, it's done in such a way that this water obviously just feeds straight down and doesn't feed out this way. And this is overflow from a previous tsunami stress test, and this is going to stay here like this as an overflow reservoir. When, as I say, the level gets too high in here, it just floods down through this channel into our large escape reservoir over here, which then pumps the water back out down here behind the big wave. So it kind of works out really, really nicely. One of the other things I did look at doing was maybe having some pumps on this platform here and then having an outlet pipe over there. We may still do that, but for now everything seems to be working pretty well. So I'm going to actually show you this system in progress. So I'm going to manually trigger a tsunami. I'm going to set that for there. So that'll hit us at some point. We do have a warning buoy just there, right on the edge of our territory. So that'll ping when the wave reaches that point. We'll get the warning. And you'll also probably start to see some of the water around here start to disappear as it gets pulled up into the wave that currently is off in the distance. Already you can see, look, some of that water is starting to perhaps get pulled a little bit. You can see you've got that little wrinkle in the waves just there. It's quite hard to see, but the water is starting to be pulled away. So you'll be able to see our overflow system in action as the water comes swooping down the channel and then overflows into here and then goes back down here to there and then back out again. We will get some flooding over here, and I may end up reorganizing this just a little bit, maybe moving these buildings back a touch over there and then putting in a barrier of some kind along here around there like that, so that it forces all the water to go that way. I don't know if I want to go that way yet. I kind of like the setup like this, but obviously we are getting some flooding as a result. But we're on a hill here, so the water kind of gets to this point and then a little bit spills around into this kind of just natural valley in the elevation here, and then it kind of spills around to about here and then it stops. So it doesn't go past this point. So all of these buildings here completely safe, which is really, really good to see. Now, while we're waiting on that wave to trigger, let's see if we can maybe just give our population a little bit more of a nudge. We've got a big demand for industry and a decent demand for commercial again, but no real desire for residential. So let's take a look, see if we can maybe boost our zones a little bit. This is still a really busy area. I don't really want to add any more traffic into this area if I can. Nicholson Farm, do I really want to expand Nicholson Farm? Probably not. I mean, it's worked quite well, and I don't really want to mess with that status quo too much. Oh, here we go, look. The water's being sucked downstream. It's starting to happen, so the wave should be starting to build in the distance. You can just see the wave there, just starting to crest in the distance, so it's on its way. In terms of other industry, I went in and dropped in a few bits of offices around our sort of support area around here, and then just pushed that out a little bit further. So that's fine as is like that. I don't really think we need to change that. I could potentially change a bit more of Murphyville around here, put some more industry in, but I don't know whether I want to do that, because that's taking away population. And that's not what I'm trying to do. We could always try and zone in a little bit more office if necessary. We could also squeeze in a little bit more industry here perhaps in this section. Again, traffic's already quite busy over here, so I don't really want to overdo it. It's flowing reasonably well, but you can see we're getting a lot of traffic at this little junction here. So I don't really want to overload this roundabout too much either. Looking forward to when we can actually start building stuff on this side of the road, and that's going to be, the next tab that we get is going to be this block just here. That's going to be the next tile that we unlock, so that we can start to plan where this freeway feeds off to and then splits and start building into this area on both sides of the river around here. So that's going to be our next sort of big expansion around there. What else could I possibly do zoning wise? You can see McSweeney Square has been tweaked with a little bit of office around the edges, and I've also dropped in a little bit more residential on the edges of Giata Square, and then some office just to kind of border that just around this bit, because we didn't zone this in last time. So we're actually getting there reasonably nicely. Let's just drop a small office in there. Had to obviously rebuild this slip bit, so it's slightly different from the last time you saw it because of that that game crash that I suffered, undoing everything. But that's working quite nicely. Around here, I've zoned in this area again. Got a nice little bit of houses going in, and I've gone in and I've dropped in a few sort of buildings as well. So I've got obviously we have the main park just there, but I've also gone in and dropped in some smaller parks. Actually, no, that is a small park just there. Dropped in some leisure facilities to try and boost things a bit. So over here by the station, I dropped in a botanical gardens as well. There's a couple of dog parks I've dropped in and other little bits just to boost the leisure. There's another small park there. So if we actually go back to info views, where is leisure? You can see in terms of happiness, our citizens are very, very happy indeed for the most part. Commercial, not quite so happy. They're a little bit low at 76%. Crime rate is fine. Healthcare is fine. Loads and loads of capacity to deal with sick people. Population, there you can see in terms of unemployment, we're currently sitting at 17%, 18% unemployment. So we need to put more jobs in. We need to create another area for offices and things like that. So I think maybe, let's see, can we add in? Oops. Can we add in a little area somewhere around here?
The Coast Guard is warning of a tsunami.
There we go. So the wave has just hit our dock area. That'll be swooping in pretty soon. Oh, we've got a gap here. Need to repair that. I'm just going to, oops, delete these few houses here. And then they can rebuild as good-sized houses. But yeah, we kind of do need a little bit more employment opportunity in here. So I'm thinking maybe in Strawberry District we perhaps add some more offices in around here. Let's maybe put in some side roads coming off here to create some more office jobs. Let's check water coverage. Yeah, I'm going to need to extend the pipeways out a bit.
The Coast Guard is warning of a tsunami approaching the area. Residents should avoid roads and waterfronts.
There we go. Let's zone that in. We may as well zone in these blocks around here as well. Put some offices next to our police and fire as well, and let's zone all of this block in up to that kind of junction there. This will hopefully create quite a few jobs and help lower our unemployment a little bit. You know, 18% is pretty high. You know, nearly 1 in 5 people in the city doesn't have a job. That's never a good thing. So the wave is sweeping through, and as you can see, we do get this big overflow into this bit just here. This is why we've got quite this wide gap, even though it's a narrow channel. We've got this wide gap feeding into quite a big pool here. So immediately, a big chunk of the water that's supposed to go straight down there is diverted away, and it lessens the force and the impact. And you'll see as well, as the water starts to split, it kind of stalls the momentum of a big chunk of this water as well. So some of this will then start to naturally just flow back again automatically. Other bits of water will get sucked into that pond there. And it just really takes away some of the force of this wave. This is actually quite a big wave. It's not normally this big by the time it gets here. So this is bigger than the last one I did on the stress test. But you can see the level is, the height of the wave is falling a bit, because some of that water is already starting to drain back that way. It's happening pretty slowly, but it is draining away, so it is lessening. By the time that wave gets to the end, it's a lot smaller than it was when it started. Much, much smaller. And obviously we can't really do anything about that unless we do some major restructuring over the coast, and we'll have to look at that in the future. But for now, you can see here the water reaches this area. It's just cresting a touch over there, and it spills around into this channel here, and you can see it spills around this way and it floods that area a little bit, but the vast majority of the water is swooping into our overflow here, into our reservoir. And once that water gets high enough, it'll start to go down the channel and link up. So we've actually got a bit of water from the wave that created there. You can see that's now flowing back out that way, the way it's supposed to. And over here you can see a little bit has gone that way, but here comes that overflow wave as it now starts to hit the channel and go to our secondary, or our first reservoir. And there you can see that water immediately receding back as the channel starts to clear the water. And we'll have probably a couple of trucks out and about, but we've had no damage. We've had no massive waves swoop forward this way. We have a little bit of a water shortage just here. The pipe's not quite in the right place. Yeah. And there we go. This is from the river. So again, we kind of need to tweak the river a little bit, but there's not a lot we can really do about that at the moment.
A tsunami has struck the city.
Let's just drop in
caution and avoid
a little extension there. There we go. Speed time back up. And there you go. Look at that. No damage over here. There go the reservoir trucks out to go and clear out all that section down the side of the river there. Just swarming out one after the other. Our overflow channel is now flooding back out this way into here as well, and also flooding out this way down here into this channel, which is flooding out down here back into here, and it's pumping all of that water very quickly back into the sea. So everything seems to be working really, really well as our main tsunami diffuser device, if you will. It stops it from being a major bow wave that threatens to engulf half our city, and completely dissipates it by the time it reaches this area here. You get a little bit of spillage just here, and we can tweak the design a little bit so it completely contains everything. But yeah, that is essentially how well protected we are from tsunamis going forward. With this channel system and these two reservoirs. So we can do some scenic work with this. We can kind of mess around with it a little bit. And again, I deliberately kept this wide so that when it did get quite high, we had a little bit of runoff area just to help, again, deal with some of the impact of that incoming water, and also to help spread it out a bit so it doesn't all just come through as this massive wave and just continue on regardless, because it's much wider around here. It encourages the water to kind of switch off that way, and we could even change the angle of this a little bit to try and encourage more water to go down there. Maybe even shallow this area out a bit more as well to try and encourage more water in there rather than going down that route. So we have other ways that we can kind of deal with that. And then this little bit of flooding over here, well, it's just a little bit into the industrial areas and a little bit into this residential area. It doesn't hit too heavy. As you can see, it kind of loses its steam around this area. It just spills the banks a little bit. It's not severe. It doesn't do massive damage. It doesn't wipe out all of our power facilities. And the vacuum trucks come out and deal with this really quickly anyway. So we should see them, actually. That's a road maintenance truck.
A tsunami has struck the city. Take caution and avoid roads and waterfronts until the water recedes.
There come some of our emergency vehicles. And that's it. That's pretty much it. We get little bits of spillage around the coast itself as the water just kind of pushes down the river. But that's the extent of the damage a tsunami does. So whereas we got hit with that one that just caught us completely by surprise while I was doing my little bit of terraforming down here, and you saw the devastation it wreaked on our city, now we don't have to worry about tsunamis. We're fine with those. Obviously we can't do anything about earthquakes, which we haven't suffered yet. Oh no, we had that 2.6, didn't we? There's not a lot we can do about an earthquake. We just got to ride it out. Meteor strikes, we haven't had a single meteor strike yet, and now that I've said that, that's probably going to hit us very soon. But we haven't had a meteor strike. Lightning storms we're kind of dealing with in certain areas by having lightning rods on some of our taller buildings. And forest fires, again, we have plenty of helicopter depots, for firefighting now. We've got 3 of these that can go out and deal with those situations.
A tsunami has struck the city.
So we're
Take
not too
caution and
worried
avoid
about
roads and
the vast
waterfronts
majority of
until
these
the water
anymore.
recedes.
Twisters, again, we can't control the twisters. We can't control the earthquakes. They're going to happen, and they're going to just wreak havoc. And we can't really control the meteor strikes. We could install a great big radar dish to warn us when one's going to happen, and then try and evacuate as many people as possible. But, it's going to be a big meteor, and I think that's pretty much it. So it'll flatten a certain area, and then we'll just have to rebuild it. Not really a lot we can do about it. It's kind of no real preventative measure you can take. It's not like you can build space lasers to to destroy them in orbit like Armageddon style, but send a team up to drill into them and plant explosives, blow them up at the core, and then have a really cheesy, soppy, badly acted love scene on it's just, we don't have to worry about any of those. There's nothing we can really do about those, but tsunamis we could do a lot of prevention with, and so there we go. We have pretty much eliminated the threat of a tsunami in our city with this lovely little overflow channel system around here, and you can see it's working absolutely perfectly. It's just pushing that water back out towards the coast at a nice, smooth, controlled rate once that initial wave has dissipated. So I'm very, very happy with the way that's worked out. Now I do need to just, as I say, boost our population a little bit. You can see we have a small demand now for additional residency. So I think I could stick some here, but it's probably not a good idea. I think office is probably a better idea around here, just there, and possibly along here as well, rather than industry, because otherwise the pollution is going to get too close to Fast Square and it's going to cause land values to plummet, people to get sick. With offices, it's going to obviously affect land value, but it's not going to cause major issues in terms of health issues. So we should be okay like that. That's going to help with that unemployment situation. Now, where else can we look at getting some extra population? I'm thinking maybe these edges around Sunset Heights up here. We make this high density. Like this. Because we've got a big commercial zone in here. We may as well go full force with this. Make this a high density area. There we go. And then we take that as high density. And I might leave that there as low density like that, as the kind of switch point between our two districts. So we have Sunnyside Heights over here, and then as it gets over to this area into Broad Heights, it goes back to low density. I have noticed we have been getting some fluctuating power issues. Again, this is partly down to wind, partly down to the after effects of a tsunami. But if we take a look at our info views again, and if we go to wind speed, you can see that one of the side effects of having this plateau here, and I thought this might be a good idea to actually build land on, is having these raised plateaus like this creates high areas of wind speed. So I'm thinking that probably along the back here we actually build a wind farm. So let's drop in a load of these. Now again, these don't generate a huge amount of electricity, but I think the scenic aesthetic of having a wind farm up here on this hill would look pretty good. So I'm just going to try and straighten this up using the dotted lines as a guide. There we go. And let's start building a turbine plant up here. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So one more. There we go. That's 10 along there. And then if we build at a slightly different angle around here. Put 5 in here. Like so. We've got a nice little wind farm sitting around the side of our reservoir like that. That's an extra 15 of those. And they're all linked together. And now what we can do is... we've got a nice power supply that we can feed into this area when we do actually get this area up and running. It's as high as it wants me to go. Let's take that out. There we go. That looks better. And then I'm just going to run this along the edge here like this for now. And then we can link it to there. Hopefully. Or even around the other side. Got to be careful again with the flood water. So let's take that to there, and then can I build across the gap without? Yeah, not really. Okay, so let's try this a different way. Let's build the power line there. Is that too wide of a gap? It is, so it needs to be kind of there, really. Yeah, there we go, that works. And we'll just go straight across, so let's just take this section out here like that. Take that straight over there. And there we go. We have a sudden large amount of extra power available for our city as and when we need it. The other thing we'll have to be careful of is these pipes getting, or these pipes, these cables, these overhead cables getting damaged or destroyed when we have electrical storms, which does happen. We get a lightning strike on those areas, and that will cause some damage. We're still zoning in over here, as you can see. People are starting to move in, so the population has actually dipped a little bit as we destroyed all those fully upgraded homes to bring in new buildings, which are going to take a little bit of time to upgrade. What I am going to do as well with the district policy over here is make sure that there's no high-rise on this area here. So this might affect some of the buildings in here already. I think we did this previously, and then it didn't save. I know we did it with Broad Heights and Willow District, and you can see the difference. We had really, really tall buildings on this sort of trail edge here, and it's really dramatically changed that quite a lot, as you can see. It just looks so much more organic now, rather than having these monster skyscrapers sitting up with nothing around them. But the only thing we changed was around here. We kind of left this as was, and you can see this is how tall the buildings were all the way along the edge of this sort of section here, along the edge of this sort of low density district. And it just looked bad, so we fixed that, and it seems to be working really, really well. And you can see here some of the commercial buildings having to rebuild because they were too big, but that's fine. So Sunnyside Heights is reworking itself quite nicely. And hopefully by the time we get to the end of the episode, these residential buildings will have zoned in enough improvements. Let's take another look at our stuff over here. So let's see, we've got radio coverage. You can see how strong the radio coverage is from our emergency beacon just there when we sound the siren. What else have we got? Destruction. So you can see no areas of destruction right now. That's good. Escape routes, we need to rework those, so I'm not too worried about those yet. Heating doesn't affect us because we're not playing Snowfall. Terrain height. This actually, I really like the aesthetic of this look. It reminds me of the old Ordnance Survey maps with those different shades of green. I like that. I think that looks really cool, like that. Education. Education coverage is fine, apart from obviously we've got a load of people who've just moved in around here. And we do have schools, as you can see. We have an elementary and a high school just there, and a university just there. But these are all people that are uneducated because they've just moved in. So as these buildings, you know, spend more time in this area, you'll see they'll start to change colour. And they'll start to go from the browns... sorry, from the reds to sort of the pale greens, and then the blues, and you'll see a little bit of brown in there as well. They'll all go through their various different states, essentially, as these residential buildings start to gain levels of education with their citizens inside them. So there's a big upgrade on that building there, and you can see it's pretty well educated already. Building next door, not exactly educated at all yet. So education is fine. Commercial levels, you can see the actual physical level of the building. So these are very low level residential buildings, except for that one there. That one there is actually pretty well upgraded already. Same with our commercial. You can see the darker the shade of blue, the better upgraded the building is. Same with industry. The darker the brown, the more upgraded that building is. So this is a really good overview if you want to see which parts of your city are struggling to upgrade. And you can go in and you can tweak them a little bit. You can see we've got here our offices. These are all pretty much fully upgraded, as are our residences and our commerce as well. I'm trying to see if there's anywhere that's not fully upgraded. Ah, here we go. So you can see these office buildings around here not fully upgraded yet. That's partly because they've got a railway line running behind them, so there's a little niggle against their potential. But the residency in this area, apart from this little building here next to the police, very, very high. In fact, I thought I put an office in there. Apparently not. What other views can we look at? Wind speed we've already looked at. Trash. Do we need to improve trash coverage? At the moment, we seem to be doing pretty fine. We've got this little area down here by the emergency response, another one there in Holly Heights. Obviously, we've still got Binney Street just here with 2 plants there. Don't really want to throw any more in over there. And there should be one over here. Did I put one in over here? Oh, I must have taken that one out. I thought I'd put one in over in Sunset Heights. That's not there anymore. So we're pretty good for trash coverage at the moment. You can see our incineration status could be better. No landfill use. So we can maybe do with an extra... oh yeah, you can see we could definitely do with more. Our garbage production is higher than our incinerator capacity. So we are going to need an extra couple of those units. Let's drop those in now. Let's stick one over here in Sunset Heights. Like I said, I thought I'd put one in here already. Let's plonk it there on the end. That'll help deal with this area over here. We're going to need something over here. Everything's pretty clean over here, pollution-wise. I don't really want to drop something in. I suppose we could stick something in over here, around the back, nearer the coast, perhaps. Let's bring the road down a bit more. What am I looking for? Trash. There we go. So I want one there and one there. Just going to tweak the road ever so slightly. Make it a little bit shorter. There we go. Same again over here. We'll just tweak the road, make it a little bit shorter. And that flattens it out a little bit without the need for mass terraforming to be done. We do need to add water for these, as you can see. we go. Ooh, that's not connected. There we go. So we've got water for those. What is our water looking like? Oh, yeah, we are going to need another pump. Do I have space? Not really. Let's see if I can squeeze an extra pump in. Somewhere along here. It's not going to let me do it, is it? No. So, let's just stick another pump just there for now. In fact, let's go with 2 pumps. Because our city is about to get a bit bigger. So, again, what we'll do is we'll build a proper pumping station area somewhere else once we have... Ooh. I've just denied the house some water. Let's bring that down a bit. There we go. Yeah, once we've expanded to the next tile, we'll build a proper pumping station somewhere once we've got a bit more of an idea of what we can do on both sides of the river. What other things can we check? Traffic. Well, traffic is always going to be high. You can see, obviously, these are the choke points. Everything around here is pretty good. Buses are a bit busy. We haven't done anything with the buses for a while, but that's fine. I don't want to dwell too much on buses. I'm looking forward to when we can unleash the monorail again. A little busy around here, but we're okay. It's not crippling us. And busy little hotspots around here, as you would expect. So traffic's okay. There's our districts. You can see them quite clearly defined. And obviously, I added in a couple of new ones over here. I'm going to have to rework Briar Rose Heights. Let's do that. So just draw that across to cover this little expansion that we've just put in. And then up into there as well. Strawberry District. Moore Square. Moore Square is actually quite a big district. I may end up splitting that in half, but it'll do for now. Haworth Heights, Sunset Park, Murphyville, Pearl Park, Faz Square, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So we've got a good number of districts, as you can see. Land value. Now, this is what surprised me. Some of these areas had pretty poor land value last time I checked them, and look at this. This was actually quite a bad area. Lando district now has the best land value in this little stretch just here. It's bright neon green kind of colour. Is the highest possible land value I think that we can get, which is impressive. But all these districts around here have got pretty good land value, and then really, really high little blitz, just a tiny little bit there in that sort of boundary between Aspen and Myrtle. And then you get over here, Holly Heights, average, you would expect that as industry. Workman Industrial Park, Rosewood Square, again, not high land values because they're industry parks. You'd expect them to be low in value. Same with the farm. It's a lot of industrial traffic and commercial traffic moving through there, so you wouldn't expect it to be a high land value. But Faz Square is actually looking pretty nice over here. Yatta Square needs to be tweaked a little bit, but we've got some decent land value in part of that. And then over here, Haworth Heights into Moore Square, Sunset Park, a little bit here of Strawberry District. We've got good land values. I'm really impressed with that. You can see the pollution hotspots with our industry areas, quite bad. And obviously around here you can see we've got the pollution from the water that is being spewed out from our waste treatment. It's obviously a lot cleaner than it could have been if we were using outflow pipes. But all of this water is tainted water. And then we have the clean stuff over here, as you can see. So that's kind of cool. Water levels dipped quite dramatically along there. That might be a result of us sticking in the extra 2 pipes, and it's just kind of readjusting the level. Don't tell me we've got another tsunami on the way. I'm not seeing one. Okay. Noise pollution, you can see obviously the areas that are very, very noisy. And for the most part, they're not really affecting any of the commercial zones, which is another contributing factor for land value as well. So you can see it's very noisy over here because we have the station. Over here we have industry, and we have a rail freight hub. We get a lot of commercial traffic in Sunnyside Heights, which is why that's quite noisy. Again, railway, and you've got these turbines spitting out the noise. Lots and lots of industrial traffic. And you can see, not just the zones that are in red, but also the buildings that are pink are ones that are suffering quite high as well. It's not too bad. I mean, you look at our in residential buildings, and most of them pretty happy. Even the ones along here, look, they're not too bad. There's noise being generated, but they're not overly complaining about the noise, which is great. Transport lines, we already know about that. We've got various different ones for our bus routes and our train line. And so on and so forth. Citizen happiness, commercial happiness has improved a little bit. Residential happiness looks like it's dropped a little bit. Population, unemployment is now down to 7%. That's excellent. Healthcare is fine. Crime rate is only 5%. Electricity is fine. Water is fine. We could do potentially getting ready to increase our drainage capacity. We're almost exceeding our almost level, maxing out our sewage draining capacity, so we might need to think about switching on and plumbing in that one just there as well. We'll see how that goes. Because I kind of want to do another kind of sewage drainage system on the other side of the river once that unlocks. Our population's going backwards. It's not really leveling up the way I was hoping. How are these buildings doing? Where's my building level? I can never remember. There's so many tabs to look at these days. There we go. So, yeah, I mean, they're not the highest level that they could be. Can we maybe improve their happiness with a park? I mean, we've got that big park there. What about something else? What about maybe a botanical gardens, perhaps? That's quite big. I'm looking at something I can drop in on this corner. I don't really want a bouncy house. I could do a playground. We haven't got a big playground around this area, I don't think. It's on a curve as well, which doesn't help. The curve makes it very awkward for some of these items to drop in. Let's try doing that so that we have a straight edge to build on. Oh, that works straight away, look. And look at that, that's massively improved the leisure access for Sunnyside Heights all the way through there. Just that small park that's gone in. Let's just quickly repair the zoning around here. And I'm actually going to rezone some of these lower commercial buildings just here. Do we have a major police hub in the area? I don't think we do. Just got these smaller centres, and they'll be fine. I think that's all of the low density commercial replaced now. Oh, no, over here as well. Again, maybe creating some more jobs in this area will again help springboard the population a little bit. And a few people dying off. is there another area I can really go in and add in a bit of extra residential? Maybe sort of on the run down here. As a temporary measure, we'll just zone in this strip down here. We'll remove this because this road's going to need to be reworked, I think, once we get the next tile up and running. But if we put some buildings in there for residency, hopefully that'll just bring some extra people in. Lots of people dying off. What's our death care coverage like? Crematorium availability. Yeah, that's fine. Just looking to see where they're placed and see if I need something over here. There's the cemetery's emptying, which probably isn't helping. I suppose we could stick a crematorium over here. Yeah, let's do that. Stick a crematorium in there. That'll help again improve happiness a little bit as well. And deal with these deaths. That might be why we maybe go through a bit of a death wave, and maybe why our population hasn't started bouncing up higher again. You know, too many people are dying off, or reaching that sort of end of the road. I am going to need to run some more water piping along here. Because this is a temporary measure, I'm just going to put in some temporary upward droppers like that. Yeah, it is enough. I don't have to worry about that little corner. Excellent. Yeah, look at this. We are going through a death wave. A lot of people reaching, you know, retirement age and beyond. Okay, so not a lot has really happened in this episode. Obviously, we've tested out our flood defences system so you can see it in action. We've added in a wind farm up here. We've added in a bit of extra residential to try and get us to 50,000 and just tweaked a little bit here and a little bit there. We haven't done a lot in this particular episode, but I will let this run now until we hit 50,000, and once that happens we'll start the next episode unlocking this tile and starting our expansion on this side of the river. So we'll keep running for a few more minutes, just see what happens, but we're only going to be doing little tweaks this time out. We're not going to be doing massive builds. And again, I'm going to try and just encourage some more growth in this area. I'm going to drop a park on the corner. Or gee, no, let's drop the park there. And we'll drop in a bit more residency here as well. I'm surprised actually, we've got this demand, but the buildings seem to be going up pretty slowly. Now they're starting to increase. So hopefully these are going to bring lots of extra people in. We are still suffering that death wave all through our city as well, so we're going to have to ride that out. This is all the more recent stuff. Obviously we've got a few just dying out from natural old age, but these are all the more recently built areas, and the people that first moved into these areas are now the ones that are starting to die off, hence why our death wave is mainly confined to these newer districts. I've got another cemetery that's full. Let's start emptying that one. Do I have one that's already emptying? Yes, I do. That's down to 940. Let's stop emptying. Help deal with these deaths as quickly as we can. I love how you look and you see, oh, there's a few dead people, and then you start to zoom in and it's, oh, there's a lot more than a few. As those small icons suddenly start showing you all the deaths in those districts and areas. So yeah, we're getting there. We'll ride this death wave out, we'll let the population rebound and increase, and then as I say, we should hit 50,000 pretty soon, at which point we'll unlock this tile and we'll start really developing on the opposite side of the river. So I'm going to call it a day here. Ooh, before we go, I forgot subscriber names again. terrible for that. Right, let's see. I've had a few requests recently that I need to add to the list. Let's see what is the next one. So, Haihi Nemo has asked for a road name. He would like Tronco Avenue. I think we'll make this Tronco Avenue. So let's change this road here. There we go. TB3 Gaming has asked for a district called Cotton Gardens. Now, I did actually stick in a botanical gardens, didn't I, over here? So this will become Cotton Gardens. That to me makes sense. So let's go into districts. Moore Square. It's actually a pretty big district. It may get chopped in half, but for now we'll keep it as is, and this will become Cotton Gardens. So let's rename this. There we go. So congratulations TV3 Gaming, you have your own district. And Tim Stubbs has asked for a road name. He would like Hathaway Street. Let's see. Let's make this one here, Hathaway Street. And there we go. And that should automatically rename that as Hathaway Bridge. Oh no, it's left it as Hathaway Street. But there we go. Hathaway Street runs there and actually runs all the way down here and through here. And through here and through here. Wow. Yeah, that's too big. We need to, because that's basically looping all the way around to the roundabout. That's massive. That needs to be reworked. Sorry. That's too big. It's just, that's insanely big. So this road here. Yeah, look at that. That's just way too big. So we'll drag that back in. And we'll bring it to this road here. There we go. So Hathaway Street, it starts and finishes here now. So there is a Young Street. So Hathaway Street runs up over the bridge, through the station for Cotton Gardens, around, and then rejoins to the main road just there. So there's our 3 subscriber names for this episode, and we will continue to add 3 at the end of every episode as well. So if you are waiting to see your name pop up in the city, don't worry, I do have a list. I am working through it, and if I do forget, which I do occasionally do, then I make sure I stick them in the next time out. So that's it from me then. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I'll be back with another episode of JBPG City very soon.